there's so much information. Information is so free. And so I think it's so important to not only get the right information, but be around the right people, because a lot of the systems that we're brought up through, especially in the UK, traditionally now don't get us the results that we are sort of expected to get when we're dumped out into the real world. And I sort of wanted to hear more about your backstory, right? Because you've said in the past that the traditional path nearly bankrupted you. And so I'm interested in you painting a picture of what that looked like.
So I was raised in a family where my parents had careers. My mum stayed home with us as children and then worked when we were at school, which was lovely. I had this wonderful upbringing. But there was sort of this expectation that you just follow the path that everybody else follows, right? So you go and do your GCSEs, you go and do your A-levels, then you're going to go to university, don't really take a gap year, and probably need to go and get a job after you've done that, because you've done 4 years at university where you've specialised in something that's really narrow that you then need to go and actually utilise. So I specialised in chemistry, and specifically organic chemistry. So I narrowed my field down from doing GCSEs through to maths and physics and chemistry, through to organic chemistry, which like narrows your field of what you can do really fast. And then I've got a job doing organic chemistry because it was the only thing I was qualified to know how to do. So I spent 3 years at Merck doing research chemistry, designing drugs for Alzheimer's in the labs, white coat, fume hood, the whole lot. And then this one day, the CEO came over from America and held an all-hands meeting in the restaurant and fired everybody.
Whoa.
What had happened was for Merck was that Vioxx had basically been revealed as a drug that gave people heart attacks. And it was an arthritis drug. So you're taking something for a chronic condition, but actually it probably kills you. And it turns out it had killed a lot of people. So they suddenly had a 50% drop in their shareholding, which is the biggest drop of any company on the Dow ever. And they just made mass layoffs. So you kind of realize all of a sudden, you're just like, well, some of these people have been here 35 years, working in that same building, doing these same things. And all of a sudden, it's over. And they've got to go and do something else. So there's no security, there's no safety. It took me one more turn back to industry before I realized that actually there was probably something else to do. And I went back into pharma, I went to GSK. But there was a point at which I realized that this wasn't going to be a sustainable thing that I could do. I was living beyond my means. I hadn't really had any financial literacy training at school, despite going to a good university and getting a good degree. Didn't know how to budget. I didn't know how to go out on my own because I was living by myself for the first time away from home. I was 2 hours away from home. I got an apartment. Didn't need an apartment. I got a car loan. Didn't need that. But I was just like, well, I'm learning now, right? So I need these things. But even you stack all that up, I was spending way beyond my means. And very quickly you realize actually that's a fairly short route to not having any money at all. And I was paying one credit card off with the next across the month. And my dad came down and I said I'd take him out for lunch. And it was the 15th of the month to get paid on the 30th. And I tried to get £5 out the cash point and I couldn't. And he looked at me and was like, "You all right?" I was like, "Not really. I've got no money left." So you have this sort of traditional path where you're like, I did all the right stuff. I got all the right grades, went to all the right universities, and then got the right job. And I got no money. So I was like, well, something's got to give. Something's got to change, because those people that have been there 30 years have got like a sliding scale of pay increases going across time, but probably not that much greater than inflation. I need to do something different. So a couple of years later, with a few ups and downs, me and my partner just left the country. We left with a one-way ticket to go around the world with no preconception about what we were going to do next. I just knew I wasn't going to do that again. And when I got back, we started a business. And that business was very, very hard the first couple of years, which a lot of businesses are. Made £4,000 in my first year. My partner was supporting me at the time. She was working at Pizza Express and we were eating cold leftover pizza for dinner. But after a few years, it began to work, and then we recruited, and then we expanded, and in 2019, I was able to sell that business and take time off. So there's no way of getting to that scale if I'd stayed employed. I would have stayed employed forever with no break. I was able to take a year off beforehand. I took 3 years off over COVID. But it gives you the opportunity for freedom. Will it always work? No. But if it does work, it gives you a freedom which you won't get elsewhere. You won't get in employment, not unless you, I don't know, go and work in a hedge fund.
It's such a conveyor belt, isn't it? We're always literally put in this conveyor belt. My parents were both police officers, so no one had been to uni, no one had a business.
Yep.
It was very much, get a job, I'll go to uni, wow, so exciting.
Yep.
Debt, then get a house and pay that off for 40 years.
Yep.
And that is life. And then you sort of look around and start to realise that there's edges to the conveyor belt.
Yes.
If you go too close, you lose everything,
Yep.
which is terrifying. I'm interested in your opinion on where that conveyor belt is wrong. Like, where is the biggest problem in go to school, get a job? How can we change that? Because obviously the business that you're in now of Help Bank and Simon's brand of sort of dreamers, do you realise there's more? You can do more, and we can actually help you. We can give you advice here.
I think it's shifted, and I think the access to information has made the people aware of what choices are available. I started my business in 2010, that's 2009, which is about the same time the iPhone came out, about the same time Facebook was invented. So when I was in those previous careers, this was kind of pre-social media. We didn't have the same options, maybe there were the same options, we just weren't aware of them. I think people are far more aware of the choices that are available to them now. I think that level of information comes with its own concerns. I also think universities change slightly as well. So everybody talks about, you've got to go and get a degree, or you did for a while anyway, at least 10 years ago or so. Well, getting a degree makes sense if you've got a specific thing that you want to go and do. If you want to be a veterinary scientist or a doctor or a surgeon, then you probably want to go to university, because there's a certain skill set that you're going to need to learn to be able to do those specific roles. But if you are unsure, or you don't quite know what the path looks like, going and doing a degree now with the debt that's associated with them, and more than that, it's the opportunity cost. It's the lost time of 3, maybe 4, or in the case of architecture, 7 or longer.
My brother's an architect.
Yeah, so it's a huge amount of training time that you could be doing something else with. And I think that the opportunity for knowledge is so available now. You could go and learn something in the space of 6 months that a degree might teach you in 3 years. And then you could apply it as well, and you could learn while you're doing it. So I think now people have far greater access to information. When I was starting out, we didn't have social media. It was pre-2010. So I think there was this, you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, and university's fine if you're training for the right things. But if you're going to university because you don't know what to do next, it can be a real trap. It's the debt that goes with it. It's the indecision and the opportunity cost loss for that time that you're doing something else. There is a social aspect to it, but you can make friends if you put the effort in anywhere. If you're starting a business now, it's arguably never been easier to start a business, because the access to information is so free. You can learn in your spare time. You've got access to things on YouTube that you just simply never had before, and you can follow that advice and you can execute really fast. There's still this element of where do you go to get the advice that you need, and I think Help Bank is aiming to provide that sort of early stage advice, trying to crystallize the idea that you want, supporting you when those ideas don't work, because there's an element of, if you get it wrong, it's the end of the world. Well, actually, it's probably not. It's just this one thing that maybe didn't work. Maybe you need to iterate and change it, or maybe you need to change it completely. But a lot of the people I speak to on Help Bank are like, what is it that I should be doing? Well, what is it you care about? Because if you don't care about what you're doing and you're doing it just for the money, it's a really hard slog. It's doable, and people do it all the time, but it's going to be a lot less fun. So try and do something that at least aligns with what you really want to do. And it goes back to a case in point in my early career. I got myself out of debt by flipping cars on the side whilst I was working in the lab. And that led to me working with cars for an entire career or entire business or business life cycle.